Chapter 7. Katie and Joe woke up the following morning when Katie's phone rang. She picked it up and looked at the screen. It was Gabe. "Good morning, Gabe." "Good morning, Katie. You sound tired. Did I wake you up?" "Yes, but it's okay. We were up late last night." "You were? What did you do?" "Gabe, I'm certain I mentioned that we're newlyweds." "Oh yes, of course. Stupid question. I'm sorry for waking you." "It's fine. What's going on?" "Holly Johnson is dead." "What?" Katie said loudly enough to get Joe's attention. "What happened?" Joe asked. "Holly Johnson is dead." "What?" Katie hit the speaker button on her phone and said, "I have you on speaker, Gabe. What happened?" Apparently, her injuries were worse than we thought. "No, absolutely not," Joe said. "Her injuries were not life-threatening." "How do you know, Joe? Are you a doctor now?" "No, not exactly. You'll have to trust me on this, Gabe. Either the doctor who treated her screwed up big time, or she was murdered." "Murdered? That's a stretch. Who would want to murder her?" "I don't know," Joe said, "but you need to find out who had access to her while she was in the hospital." "Okay, I think your assumption is out there in left field, but it won't hurt to do a little digging." On another note, how did you know Timothy Edelson was a client of Victoria's, Katie? "I didn't know. That's why I asked." "I mean, where did you learn that name?" "He was on a list of recently deceased homeless people that we got from a researcher at the station." "I have that same list. 2 on the list were clients of Virginia's, and 2 more were clients of Holly's. I don't have information on other caseworkers in that office." That would explain why Virginia wanted Ashley's help to start an investigation. She probably felt the police would consider it a coincidence, Katie said. "She may have been right in that assumption," Gabe said. "It's a shame, but many homeless people die younger than average. Without further evidence, this probably would have been dismissed as a coincidence." "We're going this morning to talk to the medical examiner. Maybe learning the cause of death will be helpful," Katie said. "Good idea. I'll come with you. It's a little after 8 now. How about I pick you up at your hotel at 10? "Okay, Gabe. That sounds good. We'll be ready." Katie and Joe were ready in an hour, giving them enough time to eat breakfast at the hotel restaurant. They then met Gabe in the parking lot and headed to the coroner's office. When they arrived, Gabe showed his badge and asked to speak to the medical examiner. A thin, older man with thick white hair met them. He held out his hand and said, "Hi, I'm Dr. Adams." They all shook hands, and Gabe said, "I'm Captain Garcia, and this is Joe and Katie Novak. They are reporters. We're working on a case together." He invited them into his office and sat behind his desk. Only 2 chairs were in front of his desk, so they all chose to stand. "What can I do for you?" he asked. "We'd like some information on a few recent deaths," Katie said. "Let's start with a woman named Olivia Park." The doctor tapped away at his computer and said, "It says here that she died from a traumatic brain injury." He continued reading and said, "It says she was hit by a car while crossing the street." "Is there anything in there about who hit her?" Katie asked. "That type of information wouldn't be on the autopsy report," Dr. Adams said. "Did you not do the autopsy?" Joe asked. "No, I didn't. So I'm afraid I can only tell you what it says, but I assume you can find that information in the police report." Katie and Joe looked at Gabe, who said, "This is the first I've heard of it. I'll check when I get back to the station." "Can we speak to the medical examiner who performed the autopsy?" Joe asked. "That would be Dr. Diane Rand. She works the night shift. She comes in at 6. "What about Timothy Edelson? Could you check that name?" "Doc," Katie asked. The doctor tapped a few keys and said, "Timothy Edelson died from an overdose of fentanyl." "Who did that autopsy?" Joe asked. Dr. Adams looked at the screen and said, "That was also Dr. Rand." Joe and Katie looked at each other, and then Katie asked Gabe, who were the 2 victims who were clients of Holly Johnson. Gabe looked at a printout and said, "Kevin Brown and Robert Grossman. Can you look up those 2 names, Doc?" The doctor tapped on his keyboard and said, "It looks like Kevin Brown is another fentanyl overdose." He tapped a few more keys. "Robert Grossman died from a heart attack." "You didn't do any of these autopsies?" Gabe asked. "No, they were all performed by Dr. Rand." "Do you find it unusual, doctor, that she performed all the autopsies we came here to discuss?" Katie asked. "Yes, it's quite a coincidence. I know that the night shift tends to be more efficient because they have fewer distractions, which might account for it. What about Holly Johnson? Gabe asked. When will you do the autopsy on her? The doctor checked his computer and said, she just arrived here this morning. She's scheduled to be examined by Dr. Rand tonight. No, not her, Joe said. We need you to do it. I'm sorry, but I have priorities. Dr. Rand is a well-qualified physician. I trust her to do a good job despite the recent coincidences. If you don't trust her, I suggest you sit in on the autopsy. It is her first scheduled for tonight. Okay, doctor. We appreciate your time, Katie said. Gabe drove Katie and Joe back to their hotel and said, I'll check for any police reports on our victims. We can meet at the coroner's office at 6 and talk to Dr. Rand. Sounds good, Katie said. I think we'll go check on Ashley. Okay, give her my best, Gabe said. Katie and Joe didn't go back to their room. Instead, they walked to Katie's car. She checked her phone first and saw an email from Billy. Billy sent us something about Holly Johnson's father. It says he died at the hospital where she worked while he was waiting for a heart transplant. I'm not sure why she would quit her job because of that. Do you think she blamed the hospital for some reason? That's a possibility, but I think getting access to a donor's heart is out of the hospital's control. I'm not sure, but I thought they had some kind of committee that prioritized who would get the next heart. I think you're right. I believe it's based on who has the best chance to survive and live a long life. I wouldn't want that burden, Joe said. Imagine having to choose who lives and who dies. I agree. What a terrible responsibility that would be, Katie said. Katie started the engine, and they headed to Ashley's house. On the way, Katie said, I hope you don't mind seeing Ashley right now. You did say you wanted to get her to 100%, and this might be a good time. If she's alone, this would be a great time to finish what we started, Joe said. Ashley's house was a few miles southwest of the downtown area. It was a 2-story structure with an attic. The house was sandwiched between similar-looking houses. It was painted white with dark red trim. Joe thought it looked well cared for. Katie rang the doorbell, and after 15 seconds, Ashley opened the door. She looked excited to see them and said, Katie, Joe, I didn't expect you. Come on in. She stepped aside to let Katie and Joe in. The home was clean but not entirely tidy. It was clear that children lived there. Several coloring books and crayons lay on an end table, and a video game system was on the coffee table with cords running to the television. Joe liked the old hardwood floors and said so. These are nice floors. Thanks, Ashley said. The house is 80 years old, and I'm pretty sure these are the original floors. I think they held up quite well. They sure did, Joe said. I assume you didn't come here to look at my floors. Are you alone? Katie asked. Yes, the kids are at school, and John is at work. I convinced him that I would be fine. I thought we could remove those remaining bullet fragments today, Joe said. I would love to get those out of me. Will it hurt? You will feel a little pain, but I'll feel it too. We'll do it together. Do you have a comfortable place that won't get ruined by a little blood? How about the leather sofa? I can put a towel down. That should be good enough. That will work, Joe said. Ashley went into another room and came out with a large beach towel that she draped over the sofa. She sat on the towel, and Joe sat next to her. I'll need to raise your shirt up in the back, Joe said. No, I like this shirt. I don't want to get blood on it. I'll just take it off. Joe looked at Katie, who shrugged. Ashley noticed the tension and said, For Pete's sake, you felt me from the inside out, and now you have an issue seeing me in my bra? Joe looked at Katie again, who nodded. Okay, Ashley, go ahead. Ashley removed her shirt and handed it to Katie, who draped it over a chair. Joe held her hand and said, Okay, stay like this. Don't lean back. He didn't try to block Ashley out this time. He thought it would be good for her to feel what was happening. He found the bullet fragments and instructed her body to push them out. Slowly, they worked their way to her back and pushed through her skin. There was some blood, but Joe shifted his focus to clotting the blood where the pieces broke the skin. He stopped momentarily and asked Katie to get a warm, wet cloth. When she returned, she gently wiped Ashley's back. When she finished, Ashley stood while Katie picked up the towel with the bullet fragments. Do you want to save these for a memento? Katie asked. Hell no. Throw that damn thing in the trash. I don't need any reminders. Ashley put her shirt back on and sat back on the sofa. Joe continued with the healing. He wanted to erase the scars as much as possible. After about an hour, Joe let go and said, I think I've done all I can do for you. You should be fine now. Ashley hugged Joe and said, Thank you so much for everything you've done. She got up and hugged Katie, who was sitting on the other side of Joe. I love you guys. You must be hungry. Can I make you some lunch? If you don't mind, that would be great, Katie said. Mind? Don't be silly. It's my pleasure. Ashley got up and went to the kitchen. She opened the refrigerator and asked, How do you feel about chicken and vegetable soup? John made a big pot for me yesterday. I think he thought I was recovering from a cold instead of a gunshot wound. His intentions were good, Katie said. Yes. John is an intelligent man, but sometimes he lacks common sense. I can't complain, though, because his intentions are always good, and I love him to death. She took the pot from the refrigerator and heated it on the stove. They sat at the dining room table and talked. Soon the smell of the soup reached Katie's nose. Oh my God, I don't believe it. It smells just like Joe's cabin the day I hit him with my car. That's right, Joe said. Smells can bring back memories even better than sights or sounds. You told me it was an old family recipe, and I thought you were too young to pick up old family recipes. They both laughed, and Ashley asked, Why is that funny? He is pretty young. Katie looked at Joe and asked, Should we tell her? Joe shrugged and said, You may as well. She knows everything else. Ashley looked confused and said, What? What do you want to tell me? Well, Joe is older than you think, a lot older. Really? You're not going to tell me he's 40, are you? Katie looked at Joe, smiled, and said, No, he's definitely not 40. Joe was born in 1916. Ashley laughed and said, That's funny. I'm serious, Katie said. You know Joe has the ability to heal. He is able to heal himself from aging. Ashley looked at Joe and asked, Is that really true? It's true, Joe said. That's amazing. How did you get those abilities anyway? Are they hereditary? Are your parents like you? These abilities are hereditary, but they are also rare. The last person to have them was my great-grandfather. So your parents were normal? I don't know if anybody is truly normal, but my parents did not have what I have. My mother died at childbirth, and my father died in the war before I was born. The war? You mean World War I? Yes, we called it the Great War until it happened again. Wait a minute, I know a little about history, and we didn't get into the war until the following year. If by we you mean America, that is correct, but my parents were Croatian. After my father died, my mother managed to escape to America. I was born the day the ship landed in New York. Wow, that explains a lot. I mean, no wonder you have such great manners. You were raised at a time when people cared about those things. People have changed over the last 100 years, but there have always been good and bad people, and there always will be, Joe said. I think the soup is ready, Ashley said before getting up and scooping it into 3 bowls. She added spoons and brought them to the table. Joe tasted the soup and said, This is very good. It's delicious. It tastes like Joe's soup, Katie said. Maybe John's family got the recipe from Joe's family, Ashley said. Actually, my recipe came from my wife's family. Joe looked at Katie and added, my first wife's family. Joe was married before me, Katie said. He has a big family with kids and grandkids, all the way to great-great-grandkids. Ashley looked at Joe and said, That is incredible. Looking at you, it just doesn't seem possible. I have been lucky, Joe said, but if I had grown old and died with my first wife, I would have still felt like I lived a great life. He put his hand on Katie's and said, Now I feel like I am at the beginning of a second great life. Well, I'm happy for you both. I'll be even happier seeing little baby Katie or baby Joe. With everything that has happened, we haven't even thought of a name yet, Katie said. If I had another child, I would name him or her after one of you. I think it would be great to have a little Katie Jr., Joe said. Katie slapped him on the arm and said, Very funny. When they finished eating, Katie and Joe helped clean up, and Katie said, Thanks for lunch, Ashley. It was way better than going out. Thanks again for everything, Ashley said. By the way, Mom's funeral is Saturday. I hope you'll be there. Katie hugged Ashley and said, Of course we will. Ashley wrote down the information and gave it to Katie. They all hugged again before Joe and Katie left. "I'm happy that Ashley is back to normal now," Joe said as they got into the car. "I am too. I feel like I can be happy again about the baby. Let's go back to the hotel for a while. I think it's time we tell my parents the news, and I don't want to do it from the car." When they returned to their room, they sat beside each other, and Katie dialed her parents' number. She tapped the speaker button and held the phone in front of her. Katie's mother answered and said, "Hi, dear. How's married life?" "It's great, Mom. I have Joe here with me." "Oh, hi, Joe. It was so nice visiting with you. I can't believe you chose to come here for your honeymoon." "It was nice visiting with you too, Mary," Joe said. "I wanted to get to know my wife better. I thought getting to know her family and seeing where she grew up would be a great way to do that. It also gave us a chance to get to know you too, Joe. I think Katie was lucky to find you." "I think we were both lucky," Joe said. "So, are you settling into your new job okay, dear?" "I haven't had a chance to do much yet," Katie said. "We're in Milwaukee now. My friend Ashley was shot, and we came to be with her." "Oh my, is she okay?" "She's okay now, but her mother was killed." "Oh, that's terrible. Please give her my condolences." "I will, Mom. I actually have some other news that I need Dad to hear too. Is he there?" "He's in the other room. Carl, come here. Katie and Joe are on the phone. He can hear you now. Go ahead." "Well, we're just calling to let you know we're going to have a baby." Mary screamed. "Oh, I'm so happy. You both will make wonderful parents." "Congratulations, you two," Carl said. "I can't wait to spoil her with sugar and then send her home like your grandma did." "You're so funny, Dad. I wasn't that spoiled." "If you say so, kiddo." "Besides, it might be a boy." "Even better. We could go fishing together." "How's the baby doing?" Mary asked. "What did the doctor say?" "I haven't been to a doctor." "Oh, so you took one of those home pregnancy tests?" Katie looked at Joe, who smiled. "Yes, I guess you could call it that." "Well, you should visit a doctor soon. You don't want to have any complications." Katie put her hand on Joe's and said, "There is a man who lives very close to me who can help with that." "That's good to hear, dear. I'm so glad you called us with the good news. Again, tell your friend I am so sorry to hear about her mom." They all said goodbye, and Katie hung up the phone. She leaned against Joe, who put his arm around her. "You know, I was thinking about how I would feel if someone killed my mom, and I realized that I didn't give Ashley nearly enough sympathy." "Everything is always less painful when it happens to other people," Joe said. "How did you get so wise?" "Never mind, don't answer that." They sat quietly together for a while, and then Joe said, "We will probably be at the coroner's office for a while. We should eat something first." "You're right," Katie said. "Let's order Chinese food." Katie asked Joe what he wanted and called to place an order for delivery. When the food arrived, they sat on the balcony and ate it. They had a nice view of the city, and Joe asked, "Do you miss living here?" "Not at all. I thought I would, but I have learned that who I am with is way more important than where I am." "How did you get so wise?" Joe asked. "Never mind, don't answer that." Katie slapped Joe on the arm and said, "I hope you're not implying I'm old." "You implied it about me, because you are old. You are over 30. Listening to you on your birthday made me think your life was almost over." "I said no such thing. I think you have memory problems in your old age." "Okay, my mistake. It must have been another 30-year-old that I'm sleeping with." Katie slapped Joe on the arm again and said, "Don't even joke about something like that." "Okay, I'm sorry." Katie kissed him and said, "I hope you will always apologize when you know you're wrong." At 6, they met Gabe in front of the coroner's office and went inside. Gabe showed his badge and asked to speak with Dr. Rand. A couple of minutes later, Dr. Rand came out to greet them. She was an attractive woman in her mid-30s with red hair and blue eyes. "I'm Dr. Rand," she said, holding out her hand. They shook hands, and Gabe said, "I'm Captain Garcia with the Milwaukee Police Department. This is Katie and Joe Novak with Channel 23 News. We are working together on a case." "Of course," Dr. Rand said. "Follow me. We can talk in my office." She led them to her office and sat at her desk. "What can I help you with?" she asked. "We are investigating the rise in homeless deaths lately. We came here earlier today to ask about 4 people in particular and learned you performed the autopsy on all 4. Gabe handed her a piece of paper with the names on it. She read the names on the paper and said, "Yes, I recognize these names. What do you need to know about them?" "We think it's quite a coincidence that you performed all 4 of those autopsies," Joe said. "Why is that?" "Well, Mr. Novak, you have to understand the dynamics of this office. The day shift is under a lot of pressure from people like you, police officers, reporters, attorneys, etc. They want answers right away, so the less important cases, like the people on your list, get pushed down to the night shift. And since I am the only doctor on the night shift, I get them all. Plus, I get through more cases because I am usually not interrupted. No offense. We'd like to interrupt you more by observing the autopsy of Holly Johnson," Joe said. "It sounds like you don't trust me," Dr. Rand said. "We do have doubts," Joe said. "Do any of you have medical knowledge?" the doctor asked. "If I were to fake a result, would you even know it? You are welcome to watch if you want, but it will take a while and could get quite unpleasant if you're not used to it. We record every autopsy. I would happily give you a copy of Holly Johnson's autopsy and the other 4 you mentioned. You can show them to an expert if you want." They all looked at each other, and Katie said, "I really wasn't looking forward to this. I say we skip it." "Okay," Gabe said. He handed Dr. Rand a business card and said, "Call me as soon as you know something." "Okay, but don't expect anything for at least 2 hours, maybe 3. They all left the office, and Katie asked, "What should we do for the next 2 or 3 hours? Joe and I ate dinner already." "I did too," Gabe said, "but there's always dessert. I know a place not far from here that makes good pies." "Now you're talking my language, Gabe," Katie said. They followed Gabe to a small diner called Susie's Kitchen. It was decorated in a retro style to resemble a 1950s diner. They sat in a booth near a window. Katie and Gabe ordered a slice of apple pie and a coffee, while Joe ordered the pecan pie and a glass of orange juice. After they got their drinks, Katie said, "I'm going to turn you into a coffee drinker if it takes 100 years. Maybe in 100 years, someone will discover a coffee bean that tastes like orange juice," Joe said. "Yeah, I'm sure that will happen." "My wife doesn't like coffee either, but I love her anyway," Gabe said. Katie put her arm around Joe and said, "I love Joe too, despite his obvious faults." The server arrived with their pies and set them on the table. When she left, Katie took a bite of her pie and said, "You're right, Gabe, this is delicious." "I come here with my wife sometimes," Gabe said. "Her store is not too far from here." "That's right, your wife designs jewelry," Katie said. "We talked to her for a while at our wedding. She showed pictures of some of her creations. They really are beautiful. She's quite talented," Gabe said. They sat and talked for a couple of hours until Gabe's phone rang. He answered, saying, "Hello, this is Captain Garcia." "Hello, Captain Garcia. This is Dr. Rand. I have the cause of death. We can review it if you'd like to return now." "We'll be there in 10 minutes, he said. They got the check, and Joe put money on the table. When they returned to the coroner's office, Dr. Rand met them and invited them into her office. "So, how did Holly Johnson die?" Gabe asked. "The cause of death is asphyxiation," Dr. Rand said. "None of her injuries would have caused that. Someone suffocated her." "You mean she was murdered?" Gabe asked. "That's right. I found white cotton fibers in her mouth. My guess is that someone held a pillow over her face." "I don't believe it," Gabe said. "It looks like you were right, Joe." "Do you know what time she died?" Joe asked. "I would estimate around 7 yesterday evening, with a 2-hour margin for error." "I assume you had someone posted at her door," Joe said. "You just need to find out who was in her room between 5 and 9, especially the last person to enter her room." "It's getting late," Gabe said. "I need to get home to my wife. I'll look into it in the morning and call you when I learn something." "Okay, Gabe," Katie said. "Say hi to your wife for us and tell her we're sorry for keeping you out too long." Katie and Joe drove back to the hotel. When Katie parked the car, she said, "I don't want to go to the room yet. Let's take a walk." "Okay," Joe said as he got out of the car. "I can use the fresh air." The night air was chilly. A cold breeze came from the lake, so they zipped up their jackets. They held hands as they walked. After walking a couple of blocks, Joe asked, "Is something bothering you, Katie?" "No, there's nothing wrong. I've just been thinking about our future." "Our future? You mean about the baby?" "Partly, but also about us. I feel like I'm ready to settle down and have a normal life." "I totally agree," Joe said, "but I thought we were already doing that. We bought a house, got married, and now we have a child on the way. Isn't that what normal people do?" They reached the shore of Lake Michigan. A pedestrian trail ran along the lake, and next to the trail was a park bench. "Let's sit down," Katie said. They sat on the bench, and Joe put his arm around Katie to help keep her warm. She snuggled close and asked, "Do you remember when we were here last?" "Sure. It was our first and last case together, not counting this one." "It happened just a little bit that way," Joe said, pointing to the right. "That way," Katie said, pointing to the left. "That poor Williams couple were murdered for trying to do the right thing. We couldn't bring them back, but we brought their killer to justice. We did that. It was the first meaningful thing I did in my life up until then." "We did a good thing, Katie. What's the problem?" "There's no problem. It's just that if we want to be normal, we can't keep involving ourselves in murder investigations. This is only our second case. It's not like it's a habit. We can stop if you want and go home. Ashley is okay now. We did what we came here to do." "That's the problem, Joe. I don't want to stop." Joe looked out at the lake, realizing what Katie was trying to say. "Oh, I see now. You want to settle down and be normal, but you are worried that a normal life will be boring." "I have mixed feelings right now, but what you say is close to the truth." Joe hugged her tighter and said, "Don't worry, I'm certain no rule exists that says normal has to be boring. I won't lie, it can be challenging to do everything you want while raising children, but I'm sure you'll find time to do those things that bring you happiness. Hopefully we can find a good substitute for hunting down murderers. Yeah, maybe we can hunt down those elusive lost socks that all those normal people have a problem with." "That's the spirit," Joe said. "Now, let's head back and get into that warm bed. I have some investigating I want to do." "Oh, you dirty old man. Okay, let's hurry." Last Rites continues on the next video. For more information on this book and others by this author, please visit charleshuss.com.